Hello everybody, it is May 13, 2024. Another day, another great day in the US of A. But hello to everyone all over the world. Hello Analog Synth Player and in Subabnor and L24, thank you very, very much. Very much for showing up. Much appreciated. Alicia DeMoss, Dude, WTF, Andrew Cruz, Justin Wynn, Kenosis, Agnes and Paula Frazzo, hello, D. Moore, Barb in Ohio, Julie, hello, Anthony Van Zant, Donna Davidson, hello, Jay Northrup, Cecilia Amarati, I haven't seen you in a wee bit. I hope you're doing okay. Coping with a whole lot while exhausted. Yeah. Space Indian, hello. And Sheepdog Patriot, Mark Anthony, and Julio in Louisiana Skywatch. You had some severe weather today, Louisiana, right? Sith Trish, hello. Okay, yeah, severe weather. That forecast model, that is a government website, didn't do us very well, but look at these frequencies. Oh man, down here in Texas, and they're worried about the severe weather causing more flooding in Texas in the same areas that were flooded out, 10 days ago? Now, 2 weeks ago? How long was it? I don't even know. But, wow. So, I don't know. I don't know exactly where you are, Louisiana Skywatch, but it looks like you got severe weather going on right now. This is current radar. And what the hell is going on here? Woof, you've got a mighty pulse that is pushing an air mass in the opposite direction. And look at these frequencies. So, yeah, severe weather across from Texas, well, now it looks like all of Louisiana, and southern Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, into the Panhandle, which has moved on, and it looks like it's going to move right into central Florida. You got your supercells charged up in Florida. Look at these frequencies. You cannot deny that something is happening, and perhaps considering that it's happening in the atmosphere, and it is happening right around the periphery of this so-called weather front, that maybe it's having an effect on the weather, these extremely low frequencies. Well, you got a lot of the twirling business going on. You got a lot of frequencies up here in Wisconsin. Illinois looks like it's got a lot of little blips of severe weather and little blips from New Mexico all the way on up to Montana, into Canada. This portion right here, you got Wyoming and Indiana. You got these frequencies that are blasting away all over. But let's look at College of DuPage, because this is a very interesting little happening down here in right on the coast of Texas. Look at this. Boom. Extremely low frequencies. Well, don't, don't, you know, take very seriously our weather warfare, please. Because they're very serious with wanting to destroy an awful lot. Wow. And let me just see, has, hey T. Lamb, thank you. You're in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Okay. 80-mile-per-hour winds. Fabulous. Great. $80-mile-per-hour winds. That's hurricane strength. But that's common now, right? The thunderstorm felt like a hurricane. That is Louisiana Skywatch, who's in southern Louisiana. Yeah, I know, 75-mile-per-hour hurricane strength. I think even 70 is hurricane strength. But now that's just a common, practice of the weather modifiers to bring about those kinds of winds. And let me show you, this I just took about 15 minutes ago. This is the Arizona sun. This is so blinding, and it hurts. And even when I go out just for, a few minutes, my skin is getting not burned, because I don't really burn, but I have never experienced constant tan. And I'm talking just going out for a few minutes, being outside, walking outside. I walked today, but that was early in the morning, and it didn't feel like the sun was that burning. But really, bright white, a bright white sun, and people aren't questioning. Where'd the yellow sun go? All right. Okay.
Fires burning across Western Canada, sending toxic smoke across the border, sparking air quality alerts in multiple states. Faith Abubi is in.
Want to talk repeat? Repeat. Canadian wildfires that are blowing smoke down into the United States, and this is going to go on. This is going to go on for quite some time. Oh, I hate repeats.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, with the latest. Good morning, Faith.
Hey, good morning to you, George. There's a slight haze in the air right now. Officials here in Minnesota have issued an alert for the entire state. The air quality here reached into the red category this morning, meaning that it's unhealthy for everyone. States in the upper Midwest, as far south as Omaha, could also see hazy skies today. This is all being fueled by the more than 140 wildfires that are currently raging in Canada. Dozens of them have been labeled out of control. Thousands of people in British Columbia are being urged to leave immediately. The smoke continues to drift down over the U.S. And all of this, of course, is reminiscent of last summer when we saw the Canadian wildfire smoke drift so far down that even New York City skyline saw its skyline turn into a bright orange. Clearly this morning, we're not seeing anything close to that here in Minnesota, but officials here are urging people to limit their time outdoors and keep their windows closed. Now, as for the smoke, we're expecting the worst of it to dilute today, and then what's left of it could reach Kansas by tomorrow. Robin.
All right, Faith, thanks. And we're.
Here we go. Colorado had quite the snowstorm.
Oh, fuck. Fuck!
The National Weather Service reported late Sunday morning that snow was falling at a rate of 2 to 3 inches an hour in Park and Teller counties. The NWS's Boulder office, in a social media post, advised against traveling across the central highways. According to the Colorado Department of Transportation, both directions of Highway 285 through Kenosha Pass were closed since 7:30 a.m. due to a stalled vehicle. No vehicle description was provided, and the motorway reopened after 10 a.m. However, CDOT reported falling rocks in the southbound lanes near the top of the pass at 12:45 p.m. A social media poster showed photos of more than a foot of snow falling overnight in Alma, located near the Continental Divide between Breckenridge and Fairplay on Highway 9.
Now, this means that whatever substances they are putting in the geoengineered skies that are falling down, it's making the roads extraordinarily slippery. That's why people are having such difficulty. That truck should have no problem with that amount of snow, but as you can see, it's having a lot of problems. So our snow is different. Oh, not good. Not good. Major problems for an awful lot of people. Yepers. Lincoln County home damaged by early morning storms. This happened in the early morning in Oklahoma.
Roger. And Rambling Oaks, yep.
They are for sure taking out an awful lot of farms and ranches. Here, Farmers Talk major crop loss after Wednesday storms in Tennessee.
Water. I just saw water. You know, acres and acres of water.
Farmers know
It's part of the risk that we take.
a good year or a bad year depends on one thing.
As farmers, it doesn't matter how good a job we do, how hard we try. Everything we do relies on Mother Nature, and sometimes she's not so cooperative.
This year, she wasn't.
It's heartbreaking.
Last week's storm blew through Kyle Owens' farm in Carthage. High winds flattened wheat products, and floods damaged premature fruit.
More worry, more work, and more financial burden.
Owen says one of the crops that was damaged the most by the storm were his watermelons. That's everything you see around me right here in this field. He says Wednesday, this was completely underwater. Over in Riddleton,
See all the berries I had to pick off and throw away?
George McDonald says 10% of his strawberries now don't stand a chance, and harvesting his wheat has become a problem.
But what's happened is so devastating. You see this wheat standing here, and then on this side over here, you see where it's blown down. You see it's nearly on the ground.
It all means money lost
$50,000 to $100,000 loss.
and more hard work.
Every bit of this was just pure manual labor.
But despite Mother Nature's unpredictable ways,
Oh, yes, it hurts the heart. And not only the pocketbook, but it hurts the heart to see them out there.
it's the vital work that puts food on our table. And these farmers are already back at it.
Keep a positive attitude and trudge along.
Nikki.
Yeah, well, remember guys, we're going to have really intense food shortages. And that will bring skyrocketing inflation. Flooded apartments, California, leaves Placerville seniors displaced.
Flood fallout, water seeping into a senior apartment complex in Placerville, leaving dozens displaced. Your reporter Twari Apiraka is in Placerville with the burst pipe causing the problems and how the community is coming together to get the people evacuated back home.
The 81-unit apartment complex was completely evacuated because of the intense flooding. The good news, though, everyone got out safely, and now dozens of those senior citizens are staying here at the local Best Western, waiting for when they can return home.
All of a sudden I heard a big bang, and next you know, fire alarms going off, and people are just running around everywhere.
Ken Haverson is one of the evacuees. He watched the 6 fire engines, police, and paramedics rushing to the pipe rupture on the second floor of the Cottonwood Senior Apartment Complex.
I ran up to the second floor, and there was so much water, 4 or 5 inches all the way across, just gushing.
Haverson went into help mode, moving his neighbors out as thousands of gallons of water flooded the first and second floors in minutes.
This whole complex was lit up in half the street.
Dana Hom and his wife live nearby and captured the chaos. A Placerville school bus loading up the seniors to take to safety.
There's some folks in there with some mobility issues.
But between wheelchairs and oxygen tanks, no person or pet was left behind. Do you feel like you guys are being taken care of?
Yes. Yeah, right now it feels everybody's comfortable. Everybody's calmed down. We're getting rest.
The Red Cross.
Well, that's nice to hear that they're comfortable, but I will say this. There's an awful lot of apartment complexes and in California, high-rise apartment complexes that I've posted throughout the years, having flooding leaks, and the entire building has to be evacuated, sometimes for a very, very long time, and sometimes no accommodations are made for the tenants. Yeah. Oklahoma woman drives into a sinkhole.
You can hardly tell. There was once a hole large enough to swallow a car. It is now fixed, but early Tuesday morning, the washed out road left a Seminole County woman battered and bruised and her dog dead after her car plummeted nearly 20 feet.
Yeah, I blacked out from the impact.
Lindsay Pruitt was at her mom's home during Monday's storms.
I said, I'm not sleeping well. This weather's passed. I'm going to go home.
The last thing Lindsay says that she remembers, she was on the phone with her mother driving down a gravel road.
All of a sudden, I came to by hearing my mom scream my name and my dog whimpering.
Her car plummeting 20 feet, swallowed by a giant hole in the road.
I can't see anything. All my airbags deployed in my vehicle. I'm shaken. The impact jarred me.
Lindsay bravely then climbed on top of her car and began waving a flashlight, hoping to get help.
Standing straight up, arms all the way up in the air. I've got my flashlight going like this so they cannot run on top of me or into me.
Help soon arrived. Lindsay says her near-death experience could have been prevented.
I anticipated a slip spot or maybe, a pothole. I didn't anticipate to fall into the earth.
Seminole District 2 County Commissioner Tim Porter says Monday night was a mess. The storms washed out several roads.
We lost the 3 horns that washed out and collapsed.
Porter admits some roads need repairs, but money is the issue.
We don't have the budget.
In Seminole County, Amaya Ward, Oklahoma's News 4.
Wow. Lindsay's 2 dogs.
The dogs didn't make it. When I have said, and others have said, be prepared for anything, I meant it. Wildfires in Canada. Here's the situation across the country.
Air quality advisories are in effect across Western Canada. Air quality advisories are in effect across Western Canada because of smoke from wildfires. In northeastern BC, thousands of people have been forced to flee Fort Nelson as a raging wildfire inches closer. Wildfires are also burning in northern Alberta and northern Manitoba. Drought conditions and a smaller snowpack this year are among the aggravating factors in the early start to the season. CTV's Renee Rogers is standing by with more for us. Renee, what's the latest on the wildfire situation across Western Canada this morning?
Hi, Marcia. Well, fires are currently burning from BC right through the prairies, and evacuation orders are in place as the wildfire season gets off to what's being called an early start this year due to ongoing drought conditions in Western Canada, as well as an early snowmelt. Now, in BC, the Parker Lake wildfire currently stands at 5,300 hectares. That one is very concerning. It's about 3 kilometers away from Fort Nelson, and that community, as well as Fort Nelson First Nation, has been ordered to evacuate. Then in northern Alberta, another concerning fire. This one burning 16 kilometers from Fort McMurray. You'll remember that was the epicenter of a massive fire that took place in 2016. The fire near Fort McMurray currently is sitting around 5,500 hectares in size. It's grown. Officials have blamed strong winds for that. The community's on evacuation alert. Another fire is burning in Grand Prairie, and evacuation orders and alerts are in place for several nearby communities. Then in northern Manitoba, another concerning fire. This one huge, 35,000 hectares. It's burning near Flin Flon. Homes and cottages have been evacuated as that fire moves within 1 kilometer of Cranberry Portage. Now, Marcia, this all is happening as the fire forecast for the rest of May and June shows an elevated risk across Western Canada, with the exception of just the west coast of British Columbia. And of course, this has people bracing for what could be coming in the next weeks. Of course, nobody wants a repeat of what happened during the record wildfire season in Canada last year.
So 3 more wildfires, 2 more provinces from the BC wildfires. This is now they can do whatever the hell they want to do, and a whole lot of people just won't even question it. The climate change narrative, they'll keep talking it up. Isn't this sad? Isn't it just amazingly sad? I find it amazingly sad. Guatemala earthquake aftershocks, houses collapsing in real time. What do you mean in real time? Of course, collapsing in real time.
Today, in the early morning hours, a powerful quake of magnitude 7.6 shook the municipality of San Pedro.
Hard to understand, but I've had several earthquakes. Guatemala, the border of Mexico and Guatemala. This really rocked, boy. And I'm amazed that there wasn't more collapsed buildings. Maybe there were and I just haven't seen it, but so yeah, these places just rocked. find the roads. Boy. Whole lot can go on, and a whole lot of people have experienced it. You know, I've experienced very high winds and kind of feeling like, is a tornado coming? This was in Georgia. Nothing compared to what others have experienced. Nothing. I mean, what I've experienced, I shouldn't even mention it. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, as they say. But what other people have experienced, it is unbelievable. Turkey, hail and flooding in Ankara.
A weather warning has been issued to 19 provinces in Turkey. Parts of the Western Black Sea, Central and Eastern Black Sea, Eastern and the capital Ankara was covered in white hail. God.
Lots of hail. How about France?
The information in the video shows an incident in Calvados, France. In Calvados, the orange alert level has been declared, while 36 departments are on the yellow alert due to severe storms. Following Sunday's storms, the situation hasn't calmed down this Monday, with weather conditions remaining precarious. Authorities urging caution amid ongoing storm conditions. Necessary precautions as the inclement weather persists.
Okay, I want to interrupt this news program to thank Roberta Kay for your donation to PayPal. You've been an amazing support for years, and I thank you very, very, very much. So it every little bit helps, and I so appreciate it. Okay. Floods, landslides kill at least 31 in Indonesia.
Tidak kurang dari 31 warga kita yang meninggal dunia, dan informasinya 15 orang yang belum ditemukan, dan juga tidak kurang dari 46 orang luka. Perlu kami sampaikan di sini bahwa dari kemarin sejak 17.00 sampai malam hari, bahkan sampai dini hari, hujan terus-menerus tiada henti di wilayah Sumatera Barat, khususnya yang kita deteks adalah wilayah Bukit Tinggi, kemudian juga wilayah Padang Pariaman, diikuti juga banjir bandang yang
bertebaran kemana-mana lah.
Armed police patrol on jet skis as crime rises in flood-hit Brazil.
Na Avenida das Concessionárias lá, né?
Então estamos, desde os primeiros dias, efetuando esse patrulhamento e esse policiamento ostensivo nas áreas de difícil acesso. E aqui somente com embarcações e motos aquáticas para poder dar essa resposta para a comunidade gaúcha.
Saquearam tudo.
Toda a área urbana da cidade está coberta, então há dificuldades de obstáculos aí que enfrentamos toda hora, além de placas, lixeiras e veículos que estão parados, né?
Foi saqueado. Aí
So they're still flooded out, and more rain keeps coming. So the farm seafood is not very good. It's actually very toxic. And I did see somebody in the chat leave a comment a couple of lives ago saying that they loved fish, but they just don't eat fish anymore because you can't tell how the fish is. And that's exactly what's happened to me. I won't eat fish anymore. I have no clue where it's coming from. And this farmed crap is really very bad. So I'm just going to play a few minutes of Real Fishing Life's video here. I'll put the link in the channel if you want to watch the full video. But, oh, and salmon, that was my favorite fish.
Jerome Rouzan, the conclusion. Compared to other products, we can see very. Salmon also suffer less visible but equally disturbing transformations.
See, this is a much smaller tail. It has bigger tails with more sharp corners. And the shell is not covering the gills, you know? That's very normal.
What we find inside the fish is even worse.
Typical. This is no. What the hell? See this? This is a fresh salmon, you see? How it's baking, you see? This is no good fish, you know? This you should be able to tug back and forth. It shouldn't break like this, you know? A wild salmon contains 5 to 7% fat. This contains between 14.5 and 34% fat, you understand? And since the toxic is always following the fat, you know? This is the most toxic food you have in the world. This one is.
Not good. Sand volcano. A sand volcano emerges in central Florida. It was an anomaly. The anomaly is deemed a sand volcano. It's in central Florida. Surfaced at a 300 million gallon wastewater reserve. This reserve stores excess rainwater for use during dry periods. This is Mother Nature telling us we can't do certain things, and we are going to respect that and respond and modify. Oh, wow, Mother Nature. The construction team excavated too deeply and excessively thinned the land while building the storage area. This overburdened the ground, leading to a collapse similar to snow breaking through a roof. That doesn't sound like Mother Nature. It sounds like man's incompetence again. A sinkhole formed, and the combined air and water pressure ruptured a protective tarp, releasing 130 million gallons of water back into the upper Floridian aquifer and forming a sand volcano. Anomalies, so many anomalies. And I also want to read a text that I got from someone that I have high respect for. Advisory. Property insurance is being canceled upon renewal unless owners, this is in California, but this is going nationwide. Property insurance is being canceled upon renewal unless owners comply with the drone and aerial surveillance that identifies required property changes. This is a variety of what owners will be forced to do: new roofs, tree removals, wood deck removals, trellises, vegetation clearance if within 10 feet of dwelling. Different insurance inspections are requiring various removals of all sorts. The costs, in some instances, is thousands of dollars. This is coming to all states nationwide. You know, when we were talking about Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and the inspectors coming out, and first they'll actually call and make an appointment, and then they'll just be coming out, and you won't even know. They're inspecting on, how high is your grass, and everything on your property. And if you don't fix these things, then you're fined. Excessive fines. Now they're sending drones around to do the work of inspectors. They will cancel your property insurance if you don't agree to have that drone surveillance. They're telling people that their insurance is canceled because their roof is just too old, when it's not, when it's fine. So, yeah, here, can a country as far gone as America recover? No, absolutely not. We're done. That's why we should really be concentrating on trying to form some kind of community, helping those in need. I'm just going to read a few. Oh, I can't. This is, it's Paul Craig Roberts. Let me see if I can pull up. Where is it? Okay, here. I can put in this link if you want to read the full article, but I just want to read just a couple of paragraphs. And he's absolutely right. Here. So he's talking about that fabulous pandemic and, all of the lies and how many people were harmed by those lies and how many people are not here because of those lies. And then he says, we're also in line for another deadly threat. A report that failed to be suppressed arrived that the lab in Wuhan, China, a lab funded by Tony Fauci for the development of the COVID virus, has now weaponized Ebola, there are reports that vaccines are already being made for those threats, and many other pending threats in advance of knowledge of their existence. Okay, so America today, a country run by lies. Americans celebrate that. They are run by lies with their mantra, USA, USA, USA. If you tell the truth in America, you are classified as a conspiracy theorist, a Russian agent, a Putin dupe, a white supremacist, a Jew hater, a Holocaust denier, an enemy of democracy, a domestic terrorist, a Hamas supporter. The list of demonizations goes on and on. Do you understand? The mind of the official world, the world represented in the official narratives, upheld by the whore media and the growing coercive power of the government, is totally closed to truth. In America today, you cannot tell the truth and have a career or an important position in American society. The United States Department of Justice, he goes into what's happening in Israel, Palestine, and also the Justice Department. The United States Department of Justice does not have the integrity of a mafia godfather. If we place the old mafia in charge of the Justice Department, we would have more justice. This is America today. Go wave the flag. Chant, USA, USA, USA. Wave the flag some more. We are losing our country. Is it possible for Americans to wake up? Well, waking up is the first step. We're out of time. We are out of time. And no, even the awake, we've proven to be rather pathetic in terms of, what's going on. Surprisingly high number of adults in the U.S. at risk of heart syndrome. What? Really? Wow. And look, you got the cartoons. Research finds even adults younger than 45 are not as healthy as previously thought. Wow. What a surprise. Nearly 90% of adults over age 20 in the United States are at risk of developing heart disease, while the unexpectedly high number doesn't mean that the majority of adults in the U.S. have full-blown heart disease. It does indicate that many are at risk of developing the condition, even younger people. So don't you think people would want to ask, why is this happening? We used to be a healthy population. Now, what happened? Maybe it's the environment? But we have all these agencies protecting us. The EPA, the FDA, the CDC. What happened? Study finds significant increase in cancer mortality after this, after that. Okay? Maybe it should be circulated. Too long of a link. Too long. Yeah, well. Homeowners say their new D.R. Horton houses are practically falling apart months after moving in. Boy, aren't we exceptional? Not. But now it doesn't seem like very many people, when they want to do something, that something goes smoothly and correctly and properly and appropriately.
Homeowners in Berkeley and Dorchester counties say their new homes built by D.R. Horton are practically falling apart, despite county inspectors signing off on them months prior to move-in. D.R. Horton is a home construction company that builds new housing developments throughout the Lowcountry. As demand for more subdivisions continues to grow, dozens of homeowners say they're finding problems with their homes. Live 5's Emily Johnson sat down with concerned homeowners and combed through dozens of lawsuits and compared inspection reports to try to find the origin of these problems.
You're finally moving into your dream home and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to do so. But dozens of D.R. Horton customers say what was supposed to be their dream home has ended up being their worst nightmare.
I'll never buy another D.R. Horton home again.
Just trying to do too much too fast. Quality was horrendous.
Dave Preston and his wife spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and moved into the French Quarter Creek neighborhood in Hugie in April of 2022. Quickly after moving.
All right, I'm going to post the link. Yeah, I mean, shoddy work, just everything. Yuck. There's the link if you want to watch it. But from the septic systems, and there's a whole list of things that are just falling apart after just a few months of living in these homes. We've entered a world of zombie inflation. Wall Street is scared witless. Oh, really? Wow. The most eye-catching development has been the persistence of inflation, which caught economists, analysts, and most importantly, members of the Federal Reserve by surprise. Well, everybody was screaming that this inflation was not going to go away. Everyone was screaming for the past year, for sure, that it's only going to get worse. What caught them by surprise? Oh, is that mainstream media lying again? So huge financial shock, inevitable, and hitting now. Ed Dowd, a former Wall Street money manager at BlackRock, actually, Ed Dowd, warns the economy can fall out of bed at any time. What's coming up next is a credit cycle. We are going to see commercial real estate go into problem mode. There are a lot of loans that need to be rolled over in 2024 and 25. A lot of these properties are down 80%. There is a huge credit risk coming. The prediction of bank failures is accurate. We are going to see over the next 12 to 24 months, banks go belly up. Then they will have to get merged with the bigger banks, and that's all that's going to be left are the bigger banks, and then they go digital. Oof. The economy is going to take a nosedive. Sometime in the next 12 months, the real economy is not doing well. The only thing that has been holding up the GDP growth is government spending. We are spending $1 trillion. $1 trillion every 100 days. That's adding a $1 trillion to the deficit. The only job creation is government jobs, and they don't actually add to the economy. Reports are coming out now that the low-income consumer is getting absolutely hammered. McDonald's talked about it in their most recent earnings call. So low income and the middle class are getting squeezed while the rich continue to plug along. The economy could get into trouble without warning. 46% of small businesses, the small businesses that are actually left, because a whole lot have died, those 46% of those left, they're having a hard time paying their rent, their bills. There is going to come a time in the next 6 to 12 months, this huge shock that we saw in the 2008 financial crisis and the 2000 bubble, where massive layoffs start to happen. It's inevitable. We've already had massive layoffs, so we're talking massive layoffs coming. This is what happens when you crank up interest rates from 0 to 5.5%. There's a lag in the real economy, and it's hitting right now, and it's only going to intensify as time goes on. Nothing is going to get better. And I'd like to ask, I saw some comments in the chat last night. One person said, and this is not verbatim, that they were more positive than I am. That's not a real challenge. But I don't understand. What is it that people think that, yeah, we're going to go through a hard time, but the result will be really good or positive? What is it that makes people positive? What do you see that I'm not seeing that gives you the hope of a positive outcome eventually coming? I'm asking that seriously. I'd love to see, and I'd love to hear, what is it? Because what gives me any kind of hope is seeing human beings actually behaving in a mature adult manner, helping one another out, having adult conversation, and working on themselves to be better. And that's what gives me hope. But I don't see a lot of that. So it's because unfortunately the direction the world is going in is not good. So I'm really trying to understand how it is that people think, hey, just hang on because things are going to be fine. Wow. I don't see it. Fast casual dining, foot traffic, New York, New Jersey. Consumers are cracking. They don't have the money. Yeah, look at the layoffs. DHL, 170. Charter Communications, 74. Indeed, 1,000. Massive layoffs are already here. Denver Public Schools, 900 teacher layoffs. Wow. The Moses Lake School District in Washington, 100 layoffs. Little Egg Harbor School District layoffs. Tira International, 290. Franklin County Schools in North Carolina will eliminate all school librarians next year. Wow. AGC Biologics, 100. CI Games, 30. Motional AD, 145 in Pennsylvania, 550 total. Pace Industries, 90. Spectrum Call Center will have layoffs. Site Diagnostics, 40. Houston Independent School Districts, which I've covered already. Wow, massive layoffs. Vacation Rental Management Company, Vacasa, 800. These are big. Target, 75. T-Rock Global, 302. But something is happening with our schools. A whole lot of these schools are just laying people off. And teachers, maintenance, whatever. School of Science and Technology, San Antonio School System, 40. Microsoft's Gaming Division, 100. Kaiser Permanente 76, Highmark Health 47, Goodyear 135. Do you think any of these people can actually get a comparable job somewhere? No. No. That's why I wish people were working on community. Because alone, no one's making it. Everybody's going to be so stressed. And then people start to respond in ways that nobody wants to see and experience. I could make it infectious in months. Former CDC director sounds alarm over bird flu experiments. Whatever the latest and greatest Ebola, bird flu, Marburg, whatever the hell it's going to be, it's coming. Oh. And maybe it'll come after the World Health Organization actually does their vote on the pandemic treaty. When the World Health Organization has complete and utter power over the nations, the world's nations. Oh, that's not going to be nice. So the former Robert Redfield, former CDC director, said this: "I'm obviously most worried about bird flu. Right now, it takes 5 amino acid changes for it to be effectively infecting humans. That's a pretty heavy species barrier, but this virus is already in 26 mammal species, as you most recently saw cattle. But in the laboratory, I could make it highly infectious for humans in just months. That's the real threat. That's the real biosecurity threat, that these university labs are doing bio-experiments that are intentionally modifying viruses, and I think bird flu is going to be the cause of the great pandemic, where they're teaching these viruses to be more infectious for humans. Gain-of-function research. They're still at it with the gain-of-function research. Very, very dangerous research where they're literally making viruses far more dangerous and infectious. That's what gain-of-function is. That doesn't sound like good research. But then they unleash whatever it's going to be upon humanity. And then they pull the plug on all of your freedom, all of your choices. Voila. We're back in another pandemic. So yeah, Biden calls illegals crossing the border Hispanic voters. Oh, God. Oh.
It's a little bit like back in the 1840s when the Great Exodus from Ireland because of the famine and the way Irish Catholics were treated. We said, no, we don't need any more of those folks. And there was a large influx. There's even a bigger influx now in terms of Hispanic voters, Hispanic citizens who want to become citizens. So it's just enormously important.
Enormously important, but don't worry. Eventually, Jen Psaki is going to come out and say that he never said that. As she has come out and said that he never looked at his watch. Why do we, I mean, now I feel like it's Americans insist on never doing anything differently. Yes, we accept all of those lies. Yes, we know our country is grossly evil, immoral, but we will chant USA, USA, USA. And we'll just listen to every liar, and those liars will never face any repercussions. And those repercussions come from the American people, but hey. So Jen Psaki claims Biden never looked at his watch. Remember that? Right? Okay. Oh my God. And I'm sure a lot of you know exactly what this picture is, right? This was during a ceremony for soldiers killed during the Afghanistan withdrawal, right? Okay. Never looked at his watch. Here he's looking at his watch. Associated Press photographer on the tarmac snapped 2 photos of Biden looking at his watch twice, 10 minutes apart. Fact checkers at USA Today and Snopes noted soon afterward, and Psaki here is saying he never looked at his watch. Now, how did we get this profoundly sick, twisted, so seriously mentally ill, this country, that we allow these people to continue to just lie, gaslight, scapegoat, whatever? See, I don't think a whole lot of Americans have any respect for themselves. We can't. Because we prove every single day that we're people that just get shit on. And we put up with it. That, to me, is indicative of a people who don't care too much about themselves and don't have much dignity or self-respect. Look at this. Jesus. All right, so 3.5 billion slipped into that Ukraine-Israel aid bill, Israel-Taiwan aid bill to supercharge mass migration from the Middle East. So it was in the $95 billion military aid package. 3.5 billion slush fund to open new processing centers for Muslim migrants to supercharge mass migration from the Middle East. You know, those people who love Americans. They love us. Because we've spread our democracy to them. So, $481 million to settle migrants in U.S. cities, $3.5 billion to expand the migration programs worldwide. Funds to expand migration routes from many African and Muslim countries. In March, they pulled in 12,018 people from the Congo, plus 16,732 migrants from Afghanistan, Syria, Pakistan, Iraq, and Eritrea. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly. But they have the field offices that are encouraging people in other countries to come across the border. Doha, field office. Ankara, field office. That's in Turkey. Doha, I'm not sure where that is. Other international field offices are in China, Guatemala, in Cuba, in Mexico, Nairobi, Kenya, New Delhi, India, El Salvador, Honduras. So isn't that enough for people to understand that this is deliberate, that the border will not be closed? Oh, they'll have the congressional hearings so Americans can just go about their business thinking that their representatives are fighting for them and they're doing something in Washington, D.C. that will help them. No, nothing has helped, and everything just keeps getting worse. So, if we have field offices all over the world encouraging people to come to this country to help with the migration process, doesn't that sound like it's intentional? We have the U.S. government encouraging migration, both legal, illegal, which hurts low-income Americans the most, while neglecting the borders. Seems we've learned nothing from Europe because they don't want to learn. This is the policy. We are being destroyed. Here, mass immigration utterly failed in Britain, as new report debunks myths of economic growth and fiscal benefits. Who could possibly think? Do you need a study? Do you need these reports? When you have mass migration coming into your country from other countries, changing the culture of your country, they don't speak English, so they're not working and they're not contributing to the economy. Who could possibly think that that's a good thing? The UK's cumulative net migration in the 25 years up to 1997 was just 68,000. The 25 years that followed 1997, 5.8 million. So, the report says that there's been no economic growth for the UK, even though the UK government claims that there would be. It has contributed to rising pressure on public services. Britain's former immigration minister, Robert Jenrick, he was one of the authors of this report. It offers several findings that challenge the Western liberal narrative that mass immigration fuels economic growth, provides a fiscal benefit, and is a force for good for European nations. It's putting enormous pressure on housing, public services, and infrastructure. Migration accounted for 89% of the 1.34 million increase in England's housing deficit over the last decade, resulting in a housing shortage and pushing house prices to a record property price to salary ratio. It warned that Britain would have to build a home every 5 minutes, night and day, just to cope with the current levels of immigration. My God. We are so screwed. So screwed. But yeah, I'm sorry. We can thank ourselves. Suddenly there aren't enough babies. Don't worry. You know, the population decline in nation states, well, you have an awful lot of these illegal migrants that will fill the numbers, right? The whole world is alarmed. This has been going on for decades. The infertility crisis. Fertility is falling almost everywhere for women across all levels of income, education, labor force participation. Why do you think that is? Well, now a whole lot, I'm sure, don't want to have children because some might see this world is pretty fucked up. Some might realize we can't afford it. But a whole lot aren't getting pregnant because they can't. Those electromagnetic frequencies, the Wi-Fi, that affects fertility, and then all of the other poisons. So, all right, who? World Health Organization's global pandemic agreement, a business scheme based on a fallacy? Just a few minutes.
Between United Nations member nations for the World Health Organization's Pandemic Preparedness Treaty have resumed this week after reports of countries struggling to agree on a draft proposal. I wonder why that might be. Joining us now with the latest is Dr. David Bell, formerly a World Health Organization medical officer who's here in Australia, speaking and warning, David, about this pandemic treaty. Welcome to Outsiders, David. Thanks for coming along. Tell us in a nutshell why Australians should be worried about I know there are two aspects to it, but basically the World Health Organization pandemic treaty preparations.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Well, you saw those clips you showed from Melbourne from a couple of years ago, and it's worth remembering that was a virus that kills people on average at the age of 80 or greater, and people who are already sick. But that was a reaction to it. These treaties, they basically hand decision-making for what is a pandemic emergency and what the response should be to the World Health Organization from national governments. And the decision-making, we saw they've already, that they declared an emergency for monkeypox, they did that when there was 5 people dead in the whole world. So it was a pretty low threshold. And so it's based on a fallacy that we have increasing risk of pandemics, increasing number of outbreaks. There's a report out from the University of Leeds recently that shows that this is actually using the data that the WHO, G20, the World Bank use, that it's the opposite, that actually for the last 10 to 20 years, we have a reducing risk for all sorts of reasons, and we can just detect pathogens better. So the treaty is, or the two instruments, they're putting together a system where about $30 to $40 billion of public money, which is about 10 times what you spend on the WHO now, will build this huge surveillance system that will find viral variants. They'll have lockdowns, they'll have a 100-day mRNA vaccine. You just discussed a similar vaccine and the problems with that. And that will be the path back to freedom. And the profits from this will go to farmers. So it's really a huge business scheme on an international level we haven't seen before, to channel public funds into pharmaceutical companies and investment houses that own them, and in the process impoverish the population and take away the basic freedoms we thought were ours.
James.
David, I just want to ask you about the WHO. We saw their performance during the COVID pandemic, and we saw the way Tedros and other officials basically slow-walk China and the origins of that. And now we have people talking about H5N1 and a bird flu virus and things like that. Why on earth would anybody trust the WHO?
Because they still think it's the sort of organisation it was maybe 70, 80 years ago, where the countries gave it money and based on what are the worst diseases, where you can make the most difference, and what countries asked for, it would respond and do something useful. That's all changed. Now about 80% of its funding is specified, which means the funder just tells the organisation what to do. So it's not an independent organisation, it's a tool of the funders. And about 25% of that funding is private. That's either pharmaceutical corporations or big investors in pharmaceutical corporations. So it's become a tool of these corporations. It's they use it as a public-private partnership to improve the returns on their investment. It's not, and that's why they would do it, because this is about, in the end, it's about making a lot of money.
Rita.
Well, we saw
the world follow China's example and employ lockdowns, abandon their pandemic plans that they had in place and just follow China, how much influence does China exert over the World Health Organization?
Well, it exerts a lot, and in a way it should, because it's 1.3 billion people, and the WHO should represent, the people of the world. But in saying that, it obviously shouldn't be able to tell the people of the world what to do or to have much influence at all on what they do. So China has a lot of influence. They give very little money. In the last 2 years, they gave less than Nigeria or I think, a couple of times. Yeah. So, but they have a huge influence politically on who gets the top job, the Director General. So, through diplomatic means, it's a vote by countries. You influence low-income countries, etc., on how they vote, and in return they'll get some deals from China. So that's what all countries do.
So very quickly, David, before we go, what would be your advice, or speaking directly to the Australian government, what would you be saying?
Well, at a minimum, put off this vote. They're still negotiating these.
At a minimum, put off the vote? How about at the minimum and maximum, you vote no? Okay. So, coffee is anti-aging. Did you know that? Wait, I thought it was not good for our health. Now it seems to be good for our health. Again, coffee is anti-aging, linked to prevention of dementia and scarpopenia. Enjoying a cup of joe can offer more than just a pick-me-up. It has been shown to have numerous health benefits, especially for older people. Research has found that the natural molecule in coffee, trigonelline, can help improve age-related muscle loss and maintain muscle function during aging. Okay, I have to wonder, have they put an awful lot of more toxins in coffee, and they want people to drink more of it? The New York Times denounces cancel culture after fueling cancel culture for years. Again, here we go. Nobody is held accountable for anything in our country. All of the hypocrisy that people display on a daily basis, it pisses me off. You can't get anywhere good in a country when these people and ordinary people behave the same way. You ain't getting anywhere good. For those of us who have criticized the cancel culture in higher education for years, the attacks and shunning have been unrelenting. The media has played a role in that culture, and none more prominently than the New York Times. Recently, however, the mob came for liberal professors and media who have remained silent for years as conservatives and others were targeted on campus. Suddenly, there is a new interest in free speech and academic freedom, including by the Times editors who blamed cancel culture for the recent demonstrations and disruptions on campus. Until good liberals were targeted on campus, cancel culture was treated as free speech. It did not matter that preventing others from speaking or being heard was the very antithesis of free speech. All right, I'll post the link to this article, and I have recommended that you bookmark Jonathan Turley's website because a lot of good articles on what is happening in our country. So, I mean, I am not fond of people who twist around truth for their own benefit. They got an agenda, so they just twist it around. They don't care that they're demonstrating very obvious hypocrisy. They just do it because it benefits them. And we see an awful lot of that. Seattle Public Schools budget in disarray. Could close 20 elementary schools. Again, I'm going to say something is going to be coming up. And a whole lot of these people in education know that something is going to be coming up. Where I think an awful lot of these kids are going remote learning for next year, because we're seeing too many schools close down and we're seeing way too many people being laid off. And here, getting fired from my school, Warren Smith. Now, I have posted or included in a live stream one just brilliant 6-minute video of teaching these kids how to critically think as opposed to just going along with herd think. And it was very simple. 6 minutes. And he brought one of the students around, and it was about transgenderism. He's been fired.
Yesterday I was fired from my full-time teaching position. Not going to... It happened so quick. It happened in like 5 minutes. There was really no conversation, so they clearly knew what they wanted to do. So it's not someone I don't think and I really genuinely, I'm not, because there's so little clarity on all of this, I'm really trying not to, I'm not interested in divulging anything. There's no utility in that. I never have. I never will. I think I have a right to articulate that I just lost my job and my basic observations, my life experience. There's no NDA. So when you say we appreciate you not divulging, I don't know if that means that you're threatening my severance package. I really hope not. I don't even know what the severance package is. I'm still waiting, but anyways, it was a bummer to lose my computer like that too. This could have been done. I understand if you disagree with me voicing opinions on YouTube or feeling like it's easier just to get rid of that. I understand. To get rid of a teacher like that. And I accept that. Sometimes how you do it, though, is important. And I think this could have been done without just taking my computer and losing a book that I've been writing for 2 years, multiple things I've been writing for 2 years, all the data from 2 years, my digital life, just...
All right, I'm going to post the link, and it's like a 7-minute video. He at one point says that he feels like this is like a video game where you just get deleted. Your life gets deleted in an instant. And that's happening to an awful lot of people. They didn't like his opinions. So now he goes down. We really needed to come together to support one another because too many people are just alone suffering the consequences. U.S. school districts brace for massive teacher layoffs.
The end of the school year, school districts are bracing for a massive round of teacher layoffs. Schools have already been dealing with declining enrollments and inflation, but now federal funding passed during the pandemic is set to expire. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, school districts from coast to coast bracing for possible teacher layoffs.
As opposed to continued government.
Tensions running high in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Dozens rallying against the school board's decision to cut teachers.
Say, when will we know if this is going to happen? And do it directly and clearly so I can go to sleep tonight.
In Hamburg, New York, district leaders approving a budget that includes layoffs for 20 employees, including 13 teachers.
The last thing in the world we want to do is lay off a single teacher, a single maintenance mechanic or custodian or teacher aide. We need to make sure that our revenues, our enrollment, our staffing are all in balance. And this budget does that.
And in Los Angeles, America's second largest school district, mounting concern for what budget cuts could mean for the city's teachers and students.
It's unfortunate and disappointing.
A critical factor in some of these budget battles, $190 billion in federal pandemic relief funding approved in 2020 and 2021 that some districts used to bolster their staff, now set up to dry this September.
Okay, so their budgets, they're claiming that because all of these schools are losing their pandemic funding, they have to lay off all of these people. Did they do a massive hiring during the pandemic? No, because schools were closed. A whole lot of them were closed, and they did remote learning. So they didn't do any massive hiring, and so now they're doing the massive firing. Something else is going on. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And it's an election year. So they pull out the pandemic card again before the election. And it's kind of like war. A whole lot of people won't want to change administrations during a pandemic. I don't know, I'm just kind of speculating. But I don't know how Americans think, because they just don't really think. But here, this is Houston. A lot of parents are protesting all of the layoffs in Houston. AI that simulates dead people risks haunting relatives. Yeah. Okay. So you know that they have this AI which can simulate a dead loved one, bring that dead loved one back to life. But it needs to be regulated, because that dead loved one could end up haunting the alive loved ones. This world is really messed up. 3 dead after 18 people shot at May Day party in Alabama. We have a whole lot of mass shootings going on. And it's a daily, I don't know about any of you, how much you check out, what's on your home pages. But I'll tell you, my home pages are filled with an awful lot of people who are getting shot, killed, families killing one another, kids getting killed, kids killing kids. And I'm like, this is daily. At least one injured in shooting outside nightclub. This is Houston, Texas. 3 people shot in drive-by at slab car event on Houston's south side. This is just today. Fort Bend school district safety protocol questioned after in-class attack sends a 2nd grader to the hospital, and the attack left this 2nd grader bleeding from the head, and the attacker got like a 3-day suspension. That was it. So now they're both in the same class again. Kids are not being protected at all. Authorities are investigating the slashing of an 11-year-old in East Harlem. She was just walking down the street, box cutter, some guy slashed her. All right. Boy, do we have problems. Oh, wow. So, I like Nate, the attorney, and I'm going Nate, the lawyer. You can check him out. I'll put his channel link in the chat, which it's there now. But people, look, people even in positions of power, we're such a disgrace. It is such a disgrace to see how people are behaving all over the place. And I think this is in part, well, I do think that people are behaving this badly. But how do they keep their positions? That's a wonder. But I think it's in part to help delegitimize every institution, everything in our country. There's nothing that you can look to anymore and think people are going to be behaving with some kind of integrity or dignity or whatever. Not even those presidential candidates. Drunk New York judge fights angry cops and neighbors, but the prosecutor will not file charges. Isn't that interesting?
This is New York State Supreme Court Justice Mark Grisanti. He was just in a fistfight with his neighbors in the streets.
Judge Mark Grisanti and his wife are now under investigation for this alleged neighborhood assault. The brawl was all caught on camera and then shared exclusively with the 7 Eyewitness News I-Team.
Then when the cops come, he's fighting with the cops.
And then the judge yells and puts his hands on an officer.
The judge, he would hope he'd go back in time, this wouldn't have happened.
Then after all that, he starts name dropping other cops, the mayor and the DA, to show that, hey, I'm a big deal.
Okay, let me give you some constructive criticism. You want to drop another cop's name? You want to scream about, Gamal, you're the mayor? Why don't you shut the up? And you keep quiet. Shut your goddamn mouth. Put your hands right back. Listen. Put your hands right back. You want to be difficult? You want to say all these coppers, I know all these things. No, you want to make us look dirty? Is that what you want to do? So how am I helping you now? Tell me, how can I help you? Shut up and let me talk to you, you old geezer. Shut up. Shut up. Let me talk to you. Since you had so much to say and you touch a cop. So let me talk to you. Okay. God, let me talk to you. God.
As you guys can see, this is a crazy story.
So I'll put the link in, and you can, these people, the judge and his wife come out, make a claim that their neighbor's truck was in their drive, but no, it was not. As you can see, the truck is not blocking the drive, but they came out drunk, screaming at their neighbors, get into, a physical fight. The wife, you should see these injuries on the neighbors. The wife bit the arm of her neighbor. And, has this guy been fired? He really should be. He really should be. But bad injuries, black eyes to the neighbors, and wow. Wow. Yeah, this country is so far gone. And here, okay, North Carolina protesters could face mask restrictions and stiffer penalties for blocking roads. So listen to this broadcast. It's amazing. It's amazing when everybody had to wear those masks, and now they're not too happy with people wearing the masks.
Carolina are pushing for new restrictions on protesters as demonstrations unfold on college campuses.
So people would not be able to wear masks anymore and could face stiffer penalties for blocking streets if they do that. Capitol reporter Michael Hyland is live in Raleigh for us tonight with a closer look at what could and would change.
Yeah, we just got to look at this new bill today, and the impacts of it would go well beyond protests. As pro-Palestinian demonstrations have taken place at UNC and other colleges, some of the protesters have shown up in masks. Republican Senator Buck Newton says he doubts they're all concerned about their health, but instead are trying to conceal their identities, including those who may commit crimes while protesting.
This isn't just about protests. I think it's clear that people are seizing the opportunity to do things they're not supposed to do, to break the law, or to intimidate people.
A bill he introduced Tuesday would repeal a law passed during the pandemic, meaning people could no longer wear masks in public for health and safety reasons. In addition, people who commit crimes while wearing a mask could face harsher punishments. Kerwin Pittman advocates for social justice causes in Raleigh and has organized various demonstrations.
People tend to show up how they feel comfortable in showing up. We know that the pandemic really brought out a lot of people's safety concerns, and so I think it's kind of a trend that has caught on.
Newton's bill also addresses people blocking streets. Doing that more than once would lead to a felony charge. In addition, obstructing emergency vehicles would be a high-level misdemeanor. Organizers could also be held liable if blocking a road prevents an emergency vehicle from getting where it needs to go, and that leads to someone getting hurt or dying.
I know that this is trying to limit demonstrations with this particular bill.
We want to preserve the right for people to protest under the First Amendment, but people have to do so in an orderly way. We have reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions.
The Senate Judiciary Committee did not vote on the bill today, but could do that next week. Senator Newton indicated there could be changes to it between now and then.
Oh man, now you can't. Now it's mandated no masks. This was a very interesting interview, and I'm going to post the link to the full interview, which is nearly 2 hours, of a ex-Zionist evangelical Christian. I'm just going to play a few minutes of this. Here.
Yeah. So I've done a lot, and I did have a lot of questions, and even Israelis were telling me over time, Michael, listen, we thank you for your...
But what he's talking about is his whole process, how brainwashed he was as an evangelical Christian Zionist, and then finally started coming out of the brainwashing. And it took a long time, 2020.
We love you. But there are things happening in this country that you need to understand that are very evil. But I didn't have a reason to confront those questions. There was nothing pushing me until 2020.
Did they elaborate on what that evil was?
No, they did not.
They would just say there's things going on here that aren't as they say.
Because I didn't want to hear it.
So Israelis were telling him that things were not so kosher in Israel. But he also talks about how nobody can question the government in Israel. That means it's not a democracy.
I didn't want to hear it.
You loved Israel, you loved the IDF, you loved what they were doing, you didn't want to hear it.
Let me narrow that down, because I didn't want to hear it, because I thought, you know what? 2,000 years of persecution, which is not actually true. I understand that now. Okay. I've been told a narrative that I never investigated. It's like crazy that I never investigated. But I was always told the victim, the Holocaust, the Nazis, all this stuff. I said, okay, they got their homeland back. Never investigated how that happened. I was just told it was a miracle from God, accepted it, and never asked questions. And I didn't want to hear it, and I'll tell you why. Because they've been through enough. Give them a little something. The media lies. You know what? I want to be that one guy that just doesn't want to go there. I see all the good things, and there are a lot of good things about Israel. Mm-hmm. A lot.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to get into the negative side. I never got involved in the politics. I said, you know what? The Jews have their homeland back. Never asked why. Have their homeland back. It's there. it's their responsibility to handle whatever political problems they have.
And what were they saying about the Palestinians?
When I would go to Hebron, places like Hebron, I saw a lot of things. It is segregated there. I mean, it is. I was told always, constantly, security, security, security. So I went into the Muslim part of Hebron. I've been to Qalqiria, a place called Qalqiria, which has more terrorists, from what I've been told by the commanders that were friends of mine, and cautioned not to go there, than in Gaza. Okay, and I still went there. I went there for a specific mission. But I saw the segregation, and then I went into the Muslim part, and they're surrounded by a wall. Okay, and this is very serious, because when you're in north of Tel Aviv, when you go north of Tel Aviv, you're driving along the highway, you actually see that wall. You can't comprehend how close you are to the Muslim part, to the Arab part, because not all Arabs are Muslims. Right. You can't comprehend how close you are, the activity on the other side of that wall, until you actually live there. You have to live there to be able to grasp and experience all this. So I saw that and I'm like, but why is that? Why are they walking? You can't walk down here. And soldiers even tell me, no, they have to stay up there. And again, I had the love, and listen, these people loved me. They took me in. Okay, they treated me wonderfully. But there's still that underlying current that I saw that I didn't question until all things started 2020 for me. I had to be educated over time and see with my eyes. I'm not completely brainwashed. A lot of people are, man. In 2024, most people are brainwashed.
Yeah, we learned that, didn't we? Sadly, it was very eye-opening and very in a shocking, terrible way.
All right, it was a very good interview of Kim's. The link is in the chat again. But, he talks about how, he just didn't want to get into the politics and just leave the Jews alone. And, you don't leave anyone alone that is behaving in an evil manner. You don't. It doesn't matter what religion they are, what color of skin they have. Nothing matters. That you hold everybody accountable for immoral, evil behaviors. And if you happen to have people in your life that you call friends or family, and you don't call them out, you don't care about them. You don't want them to be better. You don't want them to grow. You just keep them on that road. And eventually, when you make decisions that keep you on a road that is pointing towards evil versus good, you become evil. We can say that we all have evil within us, and we've all done pretty evil things. That doesn't mean that we're all evil people. But eventually you've got to course correct. And how do you course correct if nobody corrects you? If nobody calls you out? A whole lot of people don't. And then they literally do become evil. So, very important, that aspect. So, unbelievable. Corey Mills, Republican in Florida, files articles of impeachment against Biden for threatening to withhold bombs to Israel. This is how much this guy wants children to die. Now, this is so absurd, ludicrous, just Biden is the commander-in-chief. So Biden gets to make his decisions on what he's going to be doing in terms of war. So what the hell is this about? Mills says, in violation of his oath to faithfully execute the office of president and to uphold the Constitution? Where in the Constitution does it say that we have to supply Israel with bombs? Biden abused the powers of his office by soliciting a quid pro quo with Israel while leveraging vital military aid for policy changes. This egregious action not only compromised the credibility of the... Oh, come on. There's no compromising the credibility of the United States anymore because we have no credibility to compromise, but also undermine the interests of our longstanding ally, Israel. So, do you get what I'm saying? That people are taking actions that are so bloody, not just absurd, flat out, like, wrong. Nobody's course correcting Mills in Congress to say, you know, I don't think you're going to get anywhere with those impeachment articles. Are you flipping kidding? Jeez. Jeez. Okay, well, whatever. All right, listen to this. So this is Max Blumenthal, retired General Mark Milley repeats debunked Israeli propaganda about beheadings, sexual assault on October 7 to argue that the U.S. would have done the same thing Israel is currently doing to Gaza. The U.S. is doing. It is doing to Gaza. We're not... How do we separate out what we are doing from what the IDF is doing? We've got American soldiers on the ground. Is that what, you know, a whole lot of people don't know, so they can claim that we're not in this war? We are in this war. We, Americans, along with the Israelis, are committing genocide, killing children every day. Yeah. All right. But listening to this, and I've heard people say this over and over, you just have to kind of repeat the lies, and eventually people get brainwashed into believing those lies. I don't like liars. We need to get rid of the liars. We need to get rid of every lie. Because all of these agendas, this nightmare that has unfolded, only getting darker and darker each day that goes on, it's all under the umbrella of the lie. Listen to Milley. It is really staggering. But he does go off. Now, the IDF killed an awful lot of Israelis. The whole rape, they were saying that it was systemic. Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's been debunked over and over again. Okay, but here it is.
Israel has a right to defend itself. They were the one who was attacked brutally on the 7th of October. 1,200 people were slaughtered, not just...
Hamas did not slaughter 1,200 people. The IDF slaughtered hundreds. Okay, but that's never brought up. And it did not start on October 7. Hamas soldiers, they weren't just so psychopathic that they... Well, look, nobody also seems to question how it is that Hamas got in to Israel and attacked for 7 hours without the IDF. How did that possibly happen when that wall, the fencing, the border is one of the most surveilled in the world. Nobody wants to question that. Okay. There are so many obviouses that I just can't. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling that these liars get to lie over and over and over again, and nobody shuts them up.
Killed in the conduct of war. They were slaughtered, beheaded, butchered, raped in front.
No. All debunked. And he's just going with the lies.
Of their husbands. It was stuff that was not even a hair's breadth removed from what the Nazis did. And if you take the math and do 1,200 and apply it to the United States, that'd be 50 to 100,000 people dead in a morning. Can you imagine what we would do? I mean, seriously. So Israel has every right to defend itself. War is a horrible thing. I had a lot of years in combat, been shot at, blown up, the whole 9 yards, right? It's a horrible, brutal, vicious thing. And unfortunately, because the character of war is going to be in dense urban areas, that the very conduct of war is going to have very high levels of collateral damage. There's almost no way around it. But if there's any morality at all, you need to get into it, achieve your political objectives, get it done, get it.
If there's any morality at all. There's a lot of military jets and helicopters that go over this place. This is how twisted American psyche is. We lie, we cheat, we steal, we kill innocent people, we steal their resources. How could this guy talk morality while he's lying about what took place on October 7? And here he is.
Before we all get self-righteous about what Israel's doing, and I feel horrible for the innocent people in Gaza that have died.
Bullshit, you feel horrible. You don't give a shit about what's happening to the innocent people. But hey, go on.
Well, we shouldn't forget that we, the United States, killed a lot of innocent people in Mosul and Raqqa. That we, the United States, killed 12,000 innocent French civilians. And here we are on the 80th anniversary of Normandy, on the prep fires for Normandy. We destroyed 69 Japanese cities, not including Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We slaughtered people in massive numbers. Innocent people who had nothing to do with their government. Men, women, and children. War is a terrible thing. But if it's going to have meaning, if it's going to have any sense of morality, it has to be a political purpose, and it must be achieved rapidly with the least cost, and that you do by speed.
And one of the things I find personally very frustrating, the peace activists are actually the pro-war activists, and we're the peace activists. So you don't want war, you better be strong. You have to scare your adversary, and you have to be willing to act.
Why do you say the peace activists are war activists?
Because if you're the useful idiot of Iran and China begging, literally there are people on college campuses saying, be doing a pro-North Korea mantra. If you think that creates peace, you are literally, why would Hamas ever give up? They have you marching for them. They're never going to give up. You are an infection inside of our society.
These fuckers. Oh God, I'm so sorry. An occupied people who have been attacked for there have been so many killings of the IDF going into Gaza throughout the years, okay? What's going on now is so, it just magnify what the IDF has done, 2014, all the other attacks, where they've killed thousands of Palestinians, but this one, magnify it 100 times over. And it goes on daily, daily, daily. And then you think about all of the children, 15,000 children dead. Okay. And these people can actually sit up there and debate and say, that those people who are protesting the war that is going on, the genocide, the extermination of Palestinians in their homeland, that they're pro-Hamas and they keep the war going. Wow. You want to talk twisted? That's twisted. That's twisted. I'll put the link into this interview with Katie Halper. I like listening to people's stories, and this Jew compares Israelis to Nazis, and he's a Jew and she's a Jew. Okay, so but it was it's a good talk, half hour. So when these people speak so passionately with their lies, no, there's not. And also listen to that Kim Iversen interview. Former evangelical Christian Zionist who opened his eyes in 2020 with the pandemic and what was happening with the government, and then now what's happening. And yeah, there's a lot of Jews, Israelis, that can't speak up. That's one of the things that was mentioned by Michael, I can't remember his last name, the interview with Kim. He says, Israelis can't speak up. They can't. They can't go against their government. That's how bad things are in Israel now. It's not a democracy. So, and neither are we. So on that note, it is 6:58. Do what you can in your communities. Bring some solace to people that are hurting. Help out where it's needed. Find out who the elderly are, your neighbors. Check in on them. Yep. When you're shopping, think of others. Think of your food pantry. Pick up a couple of extra cans or whatever. Yep. Pick up extra dog food or cat food. Drop it off at the local animal shelter. Live honestly, speak honestly, so that people can trust you. Trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship. It is the foundation of any healthy society. I think we've bottomed out, and a whole lot of people can't even trust those that they are in relationship with. Now that sucks. Turns life into a bigger nightmare. We have to reverse that somehow. Stay safe. Severe weather. Let's just take a quick look at radar. I don't think it's changed much. Where is it? Look at these extremely low frequencies blasting way up here. Now we've got them Wisconsin, Michigan, into way right across Ohio. We've got the Doppler radar. Yep, we've got that going. And supercell, not a lot in the Gulf. These supercells in Texas that got started right on the border of Mexico and Texas are being pushed into the Gulf. I just hope everybody is okay. New Orleans is getting hit. And into Mississippi. And you got them fired up in Arkansas. So, yeah, we've got to be safe, have a plan, be ready for anything. And on that note, I say thank you all for showing up. I hope to see you tomorrow night, and good night, good luck. Ciao, guys.